live and direct from anywhere in the world. It's The Kelley Show with Dr. Kelley Mondesire.
Hello and welcome back to The Kelley Show, real people with real stories in real time. And I'm Dr. Kelley Mondesire, your hostess with the mostest. And as you can see, recently I relocated to sunny, really sunny South Carolina. And until our permanent studio is ready to rock and roll, here we are in natural light, natural background. So just bear with us. So today's fun fact is not only did I recently relocate to South Carolina, but I've learned how to power wash pavements and how to slay snakes. So stay tuned for a future episode and I'll talk to you about how to slay venomous snakes in your backyard. But I digress. Moving right along. Today I have a very, very special guest on. He's a very dear friend of mine. He is an international award-winning musician and experimental artist. His name is Peter KNOLL. And folks, today, if it's good enough for Gayle King, it's good enough for me. I'm going to remove the specs and read from notes. So, Peter KNOLL, come on down, come into the studio. Welcome to The Kelley Show.
Hey, Kelley, thank you so much for having me. Good
yeah, do you miss me up in New York?
Of course, we all miss you. We all
Good.
do. Yeah.
That's the right answer. Okay, we can continue now. Well, Peter, I'll tell our viewers how we met. We met when I resided in New York City in the Philippe Stark building, and we met in yoga class, but we really connected and became friends during COVID when we were taking outside boxing classes, and I was trying to teach you how to box, and I said, stick with the yoga. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're right. Oh, my God.
Yeah, fun times.
Fun times, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, but Peter, welcome. Thanks for being here. And let's have you talk and me listen and tell our viewers where you're from, how did you become involved with music, and why the guitar?
Oh, that's a good one. I became involved with music. I started when I was pretty young, I think around 7 or 8 years old. And I got a guitar from my grandparents, I believe. But I'm still not sure if it was, I think it was my intention to get a guitar. But I don't remember quite well. But I got the guitar, went to music school, local music school for a couple of years. And then I had a few teachers. The last teacher I had, then I was not very good, so I skipped. I stopped playing for 5 years. Throughout my teenage years, I would not touch the guitar. And then through a friend of mine, I met through a summer camp. We were 10 years old, and that was, I think, my first concert, one of my first concerts.
And where was that, Peter? Tell the viewers.
First concert. I have two memories. I'm not sure which one was the first. So this one with my friend was at a summer camp in a very old castle close to my hometown in Germany. I was 10 years old, and it was like a student recital, in front of your parents. And the other thing was in a church. I played in a guitar ensemble, led by my music school, and it was in a church. And that was my first money gig because I remember my music teacher, guitar, gave me $1.50 something, like a $1 gig. So that was my first paid gig. And I was probably around 9-10 years old. So
wow. So did you always know you wanted to be a musician?
No, not really. I'm with everything in life. I'm a late starter, late bloomer, they say, right? And also with music, I started early, but then, I left and then I picked it up around 17, 18. I still could play, but I lost all the sight reading skills. And then I started playing in bands with that friend who actually brought me back to music. The one I played with at the student recital, we went to school together. He's my oldest friend, and he also still plays guitar. We started a band, and the band became bigger in terms of we had a 10-piece. We only played original music, funk, soul, jazz. It was pretty exciting. And then I think there was a bass player in the band, and he wanted to become a professional musician. He was very good, much better than we all were. And he kind of motivated me, and we practiced a lot. And that's when the thing became closer and closer and near that I wanted to become a professional musician. But I was in my mid-20s when I decided to do that. So
You describe yourself as being an experimental musician. Can you explain what it means, and can you explain what your genre is?
That's a little tricky to explain. I mean, I kind of came to that. I'm not sure. I mean, I did a lot of music. I worked a lot as a sideman. I did cruise ships, and I worked and did wedding bands. All the stuff musicians do. I went to school, studied music, and I think the key moment came when I was at Berklee College of Music in Boston, and I played in this really great jazz ensemble. Everybody was much better than I was, and I actually wanted to get out of this class. I asked the teacher, "Hey man, can I get out of this class? I just don't feel comfortable in there, right?" And he said, no, you stick with us. He was very cool, great teacher. And then once we did a free jazz experiment, he just turned off the lights in the room and said, "Now let's just play whatever you feel. Don't think, just play whatever you feel." And then and the teacher was just like, "Oh my God, Peter, I cannot believe what you just," that was because I was never really a great, jazz player, but I know the language a little bit, and the schooling was really great, and I used that language in my music. But that was the first time I kind of that was an ignition. How do you say, like an
Ignition igniter?
Yeah, igniter, exactly. Where okay, this is my thing. I still did other things, over the years, commercial music and mainstream stuff. But then I always stuck to my music, and now I almost only play my music, with different bands and stuff like that. But it's just what naturally feels good to me. It's just yeah.
You're an international award-winning musician, and you've played with some really big names in the industry. Can you tell us a little bit about those awards and some of the people that you have played with?
Awards. I had my first award I got when I moved to New York the second time was around 2007. That was through MySpace. Remember those days, MySpace days? I got in touch with I believe it was that. There was a guy in Texas. It was a guitar magazine, an online guitar magazine, and he would always feature guitar players, from week to week. And I don't know how he came across me, but I was like, wow, it was pretty amazing. He really liked my music. And he wrote me a nice quote, so I was like the guitar player of, week or whatever in his online guitar magazine. So it was nice. And then the second time was I was awarded, not awarded, but nominated for Best Composer at the Cannes Short Film Festival.
Wow.
That came by chance too. It was a thing. I did a recording with a saxophone player from St. Louis who lives in Los Angeles now. Christopher Bragg is his name. He's also a documentary filmmaker, and he did this documentary about a radio station, Radio Free Newport in St. Louis. And he just applied, and we got, and the music we recorded was the music to the documentary, and that's where, how it happened that we were nominated for that.
Wow. That's pretty neat. Well, we have a few samples. Peter, I've gone to see some of your performances, and it's really I've always described it as a journey. a
Yes,
journey of
yes,
the senses.
yes.
Can you explain what was on your mind during this performance, and the senses, the feelings, the thoughts manifest through your instrument?
Yeah. Well, you know, we call it, the drama I usually play with, we call it like in the moment music. So the thing is, we don't plan anything. It's really, we don't think anything. We just start playing, and then we'll see where it takes us. So it's really, it's a journey. That's a very, well described, Kelly. So we think of it as a journey too, or like an abstract painting. You have like a blank paper in front of you, and you
Mm-hmm.
started painting something. That's how we. So there's nothing planned, and everything is just really in the moment, which is really great.
We're going to go to a second performance here, and maybe you
Sure.
can explain what's going on here. Gareth, take it away.
Mhm.
And I've noticed some of your work has elements of jazz, blues, rock and roll.
Yes.
It's just so intricate, and it never is the same. I mean, sitting through even an hour performance, like I said, it's this journey of like a ship,
Yeah.
on an ocean, and as the wind changes and the elements change, the environmental elements, the ship rolls differently and it travels differently. And that's what your music is for me anyway, personally. And I think we have a third clip. If we could play that third clip, Gareth, do you have that for us? And while Gareth is getting that ready, I'll mention that our master producer and editor is also a percussionist. And we were having a conversation during the rehearsal here that you have how many guitars, Peter?
I'm a geek, a little bit around 30, I would say 30 guitars. Yeah.
So here we have another performance, which is a completely different sound. So let's give this a listen. And Gareth, take it away. Wow, that was great. So Peter,
Yeah.
having had
Yeah.
second row center tickets to see Ravi Shankar in Carnegie Hall, and unfortunately I never got a chance to see Jimi Hendrix. This particular piece reminds me, it's a cross between Jimi Hendrix and Ravi Shankar, and this is really
Thank
trippy.
you.
I love this. This is like one of my favorite performances
Really?
that you've taped. Can you tell us a little
Thank
bit
you.
about this sound and what was coming out of
Sure.
you?
Sure. So that performance that was done, right after COVID. That was a CD release party, and actually from that performance, my next CD is that performance.
Oh
So
wow!
the record is already done and everything. So, so that was actually also a CD release party for my previous CD. So the band is, this is my power trio. The Peter Knoll trio, the last one you saw, and the one just to see a little bit something about those clips. The one before you saw is my duo with Christian Finger, my long-term partner on the drums, which I'm been working with for 10 years. And the first clip was in Austria, was with Clement Celestny. He's the sax player. We co-leading this project for 15 years with different musicians. But yeah, so this last performance was just out of COVID, so it was a really kind of weird, as you can see, we were wearing still masks. It was, and they left the doors open in the venue. There were no people, it was just us and the crew.
Wow.
And it was a live stream concert, basically.
Wow.
So it was like the first gig after COVID, kind of.
Jeez.
Yeah,
music during the pandemic.
Pandemic music, yeah.
So Peter, aside from performing, I know you teach guitar.
Yes.
Do you enjoy teaching? Your trade, and how do you share that expertise or that je ne sais quoi of how you teach your students perhaps to feel and express emotion and feeling and everything they have inside of them into their instrument?
Yeah, so I've been teaching guitar for 36 years, I believe now. So it's been quite a long time. And I have my own guitar school, guitarclasses.nyc. And, I try to be with every student. So I had a whole army of people throughout the decades I was teaching. And I try to be very individual. I don't have a strict plan. I always look at the students, what they need and what they want. Everybody's so different, And then, so I'll try to tailor to that. And also we do recitals where, they can perform as well. So they get a feel for what it is, just to play in front of people. And I think that's kind of like my vision or philosophy about, teaching people and to get them emotionally involved in what they do. I mean, it's a long journey, it's, you have to practice a lot and stuff, but, but I try to be very individual with everybody. That makes sense. Yeah.
So Peter, you've been at this game for so long. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Do you see yourself still performing? I hope. Still recording? I hope.
Yeah, always more, better and more. And, definitely performing, recording, and I would like to live. My dream is always to live in different places, I mean, we travel a lot with my family, which is kind of nice. But just, be happy, healthy, successful, and everybody's good. And the kids are good, my wife is good, and my friends, family. So, and leading and living a happy life, I guess.
Nah, amen to that. And when I get straightened out down here, everybody's got to come in, and the whole happy gang has to visit. We're going to shake up South Carolina. They're not going to know what happened to them down here. So, there goes the neighborhood. The riffraff came in. We knew that lady was crazy. So, Peter, we have a trip. Yeah. So that's why me and Gareth get along so well. My brilliant engineer, producer. Yeah.
You guys
we're two birds in the nest there. But anyway, we have a tradition on the show. If you could name one person, place, thing, or experience that you would be grateful for, who or what would it be? Do tell.
Well, besides, of course, meeting my wife, this turned my life around, which was amazing, but I have to mention, I had one very spiritual experience in New York City. When I tell the story, I'm still getting goosebumps, but it was around 15 years ago. I was walking through the streets of New York, and I was not at a very happy place at the time. I was a little, and I was thinking in my head, maybe I should move to Los Angeles. Maybe that's a better place. I really had this thought in my head, and I was walking, and then I talked to a guy standing on the street. He was smoking a cigarette, and I was smoking too. Back in the time, I asked him, for a light, and he standing smoking a cigarette, and he was like, and he looked me into the eyes, and he says, "You were just thinking moving to the West Coast, right?" So I could not believe, a real psychic guy. I mean, he literally read my mind, what I was thinking 2 minutes before. It was unbelievable. And that kind of like, and we started talking. He said, just stick with what you do. He asked, are you composing and stuff? Yeah, do every gig, you will be successful eventually. And that kind of like changed a lot, because I never really believed in those kind of things, but I had the real proof that people can read your minds. And I Googled the guy. He's a professional psychic. He works for the NYPD for celebrities. He has his own office. And
wow.
So that was a very unique experience. But I would still say meeting my wife, of course, and having this beautiful family now, I'm very thankful. This is, those two, it's two things, and there's more things, of course, right? But I always tell that story because it's a very unique thing,
Well, thanks for coming on. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. It's so good to see you, and I can't wait to see you and the family in person. And for our viewers out there, we're going to put up Peter's contact information. If you would like to contact Mr. Peter KNOLL, experimental musician, for his website, CDs, live performances, or reach out to him with any questions, comments, we're going to put that information up. Peter, thank you so much for being a guest on the Kelley Show. And if you would like to be a future guest on the Kelley Show, here's the information. Contact us, email us with your name, your contact information, where in the world you are, what your story is in a few sentences, but more importantly, why you would like to be on the Kelley Show and share your story. So stay tuned for next week's episode, where it's a secret. As always, I have another amazing guest to share their story with all of us. So until that time, peace and love. Gareth, take it away.
If you would like to be a guest on The Kelley Show, send us an email with your contact information, where in the world you are, and a brief description of the story you'd like to share today.